Hey, Vox Cascadia listeners. CRITCon 2 is almost here. Have you got your tickets yet? It's October 24th, 25th, and 26th at the Hilton Doubletree in Portland, Oregon, the war zone of the West. I think that's what the kids are calling it these days. Tickets are selling fast. Don't forget, we've got Kill Scream 4, one of the last chances to win a golden ticket. We've got 2 of them this year. We also have Shatterpoint, Star Wars Legion, Marvel Crisis Protocol, Warhammer 40k, Infinity, and much, much more. We've also got the hobby classes back. They're selling quickly. Don't wait to get your ticket. Dan Osborne, Useless Wizards are back, along with Matt DiPietro and Selnar to help you elevate your painting in a variety of different classes. We've also added about 15 tabletop role-playing game sessions for just $5 each, including Dungeon Crawl Classics, Morkborg, Haste, Shadow Dark, Liminal Horror, and much more. We still have discounted rooms available, and you can find all the information at CascadiaTabletop.com or in the show notes. Get your tickets and get that pedicure. Connor's looking forward to seeing it.
Well, Vox Cascadia has been a three-man show for almost 2 years now at this point, which meant Tyler and Chuck have finally grown sick of me introducing the new host of Vox Cascadia. It's the Vox Cascadia podcast.
With
Chuck.
With our dear friend, Chuck, Tyler, and newest fan and friend, Max.
Yeah. Founder of KTC, along with me and a few other people. You're welcome to the show, Max. It's good to have you.
Thank you. Yes, I was at it was a 13-person tournament at the First Tacoma Open. You, myself, Greg, Brandon, a couple other people.
Mm-hmm.
Barely, and we clustered around 2 kind of round tables at the convention center, just talking on the last. There was not a lot of us, and
Nope.
Here we are now. So. Yeah, I often talked about now and again, never been on the show. My name is Maxwell Phillips, or just Max for short. Pronouns are she, her. Why does my voice sound like that? Don't worry about it.
Yeah, well, thank you for joining us.
For sure. It's long overdue. It's really good to have you here. So.
I appreciate you bullying your way onto the show by pointing out that Connor and I could not figure out the word ensemble last week. And you corrected us and let us know that we're both a bunch of idiots and came to school us on other things. You didn't bully your way on the show. We're excited to have you.
Correct on the word ensemble. There was the term ensemble cast, and I didn't call you idiots. If you read into that and you thought that maybe you were stupid because of something like that, that is entirely on you. I can't cop to that. That is not in writing.
Chuck's sensitive. That's the truth of the matter.
I am a delicate flower.
We love him. Yeah, absolutely. We're tender with him. That's why we don't make fun of him on the show.
Yeah, just in back channels around me.
Absolutely.
I make fun of myself enough, but no, Max. We're excited to have you, and we're gonna actually. Do you want to tell so you're one of our patrons. You're a member of the community, and do you want to just tell everybody kind of your history in miniatures and wargaming in general, and get us up to speed to?
Yeah, and that can actually lead us kind of into what the topic is, because you asked me to go and pitch sort of like what we're talking about today, and I did bring something to the table and gave you guys homework, and we'll get to whether or not that happened in just a bit. So, all right. So I have been in the hobby off and on ever since I was in middle school somewhere in the Midwest in the 2000s. My dad and I walked out of a restaurant in my hometown in Missouri, and we just walked a couple stores down the strip mall to the local game store to go into for the first time, because we never have, and just went in, comic books, everything, just took a sharp right and saw all the Warhammer stuff back in the days where they still had the blister packs of the pewter models.
Mm-hmm,
and I'm pretty sure that ruined my life.
Same here. I was never the same after that moment. When I saw those pewter miniatures and then the second edition art, my mind was blown.
I am almost positive if I had not discovered 40K that I don't know, maybe I would have become a chemist or a scientist or a lawyer like my grandfather wanted. Instead, I graduated from high school in 2008 during the recession and the housing crisis, thinking I was going to be a photographer. So, decisions got made. But middle school, with that, I still remember the first models I got a 2-pack of Space Marine Scouts and a couple of the old Dark Eldar Incubi. those, along with so many other like out of print, like old hammer type sculpts, allegedly somebody in my family has someplace. I don't know where they are. Texas, maybe at this point, if they're still in the family. God knows I'm not driving down there to get those. It's Texas. So I don't know if I'm ever getting those back if they still exist. But did a whole lot of just kind of buying models of like allowance money in middle school. Didn't have anybody to play with, obviously, in friend group because I was a teenager going into middle and high school. Nobody could afford that hobby. I couldn't. A lot of the bigger things got from like as a Christmas gift or something. So I read a couple of books. Dawn of War came out when I was younger. That was great because I had something to actually kind of play. But for the most part, save for in it must have been 4th edition because I remember I got into 40K before the Tau existed because I have still a bunch of my like original run Tau I got of like some of the battle suits where all of the ankle joints are snapped off, so have to do like resculpting if I want those to look correct on a base again. Bunch of Fire Warriors, stuff like that, and like the plastic Necrons with like the green rods, all that. So this must have been about 3rd and 4th edition is when I first got into things, and everybody who were regulars at my local game store were people in like their 20s or so who were adults with like jobs and disposable income, and then there's just the one fucking kid who they get to stomp on and like roll over in like actual proper 40K because they don't really know what they're doing all that well. So didn't do a whole lot of playing Warhammer when I was younger.
Yeah, I think it's pretty hard to actually get games in when you're younger. Like you can be into it, you can buy the models, like with your allowance or like, like your paper out money. But it becomes like really hard to like comprehend and play the game at the level that adults are playing, which are like the only people that actually play 40K,
Yeah, exactly. Which actually, funnily, brings me into kind of what today's topic is. So never got a chance to really play a whole lot of like proper like big hammer when I was younger up until I got back into the hobby. Like I kind of after high school or around high school kind of fell off because both money, time, nobody be able to share stuff with, and I fell off the wagon and got some of my old like 40K stuff back, like all my Tau, like some Firstborn Space Marines that I've torn most of the heads off to put onto things like the Death Watch I'm working on or my Angels of Death, stuff like that. Fell off the wagon back when COVID happened. And luckily, after moving up here to the Northwest, found you also actually have people to play with. But before that, besides like the Dawn of War game, obviously, which was nice, like actual 40K stuff, I've always been kind of a strategy person in general. When I was young on the PlayStation 1, Final Fantasy Tactics.
Yeah, are you getting the remake? It just came out today.
That earlier today.
Okay,
which
I was
going to
ask. Oh man,
and that has instilled a love of kind of turn-based tactics and strategy stuff in me. From that to the XComs to arguably, I guess you could say, like most recent Baldur's Gate, but there's all kinds of stuff like that. And I love things like that where you just kind of pick your team, you have like a mission brief, so on and everything. And that brings me into main thing I wanted to talk about, which I know we haven't really discussed too much on the podcast, which is, have you noticed this joint ops nonsense that Games Workshop has been doing this edition?
Yeah, I've looked at it. It looks interesting.
It looks interesting, and I think it's worth addressing because I want you guys to think a little back to, I think, maybe a month ago when leaks came out for the next box is coming 2 releases out. So we know what I think the last Kill Team box of this season is, but not what the middle one is. We know from leaks, and everybody was focusing on, oh, we have Sisters of Battle actually in the power armor, thank God. We have another Chaos team that look like they're Night Lords again. They have jump packs. How's that going to work if everything's in a tomb world? All of that. But I think the thing that people have, at least in their community, focused on a little bit less versus the actual teams is they just have a plastic updated model of the fucking Necron Nightbringer in that box. And they have stuff for a boss fight.
No, like
in Kill Team.
Nightbringer, like as an NPO is wild. Like first off, that being in the box, crazy, right?
Crazy, insane. And it's also
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but he's not actually in the box.
What do you mean?
What do you mean he's
There were
not in the
images
box?
leaked of the box, mind you, very blurry. But on the back of the box, you could count the models, and it only showed the sisters and the Raptors, but it did not seem to show off the Nightbringer.
Well, I will
Boo.
hold judgment on that until it
Boo.
actually gets officially released, because like I'm not gonna distrust a blurry box image in a language that I can't understand. I was taught Spanish for 2 years by a guy whose last name is Shanahan in a public high school, so I don't know Spanish. I'll wait until it's just out later.
I mean, I hate to agree with Connor ever, but I think Connor's right.
I would love if it was in the box, but actually, I kind of wouldn't, because that would make that box even harder to get, because every Necron player is going to want to buy it.
I think where it comes from is there is rules for that in the box, so I think we're gonna have to buy it other ways. But I think like with Typhon, I think there's Vlanmar and Leapers rules in the book, but I don't think they're in the box. But
no, they aren't. So they actually included stat blocks and cards in the Typhon book for anything that would have been in the last Tyranid combat patrol. There's in print, which had the Bargons, Termagants, the Leapers. So
the 10th edition 40k launch box,
yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah. So we have in a couple of boxes, we have at the very least rules and mission stuff for Joint Ops that has a full-on boss fight with a Satan Shard. And we have the past two like actual proper Kill Team boxes that had just spare spruces of this battle line things from 40k to work as non-player opters, NPOs. So this is clearly something that Games Workshop is trying to lean into a lot harder, not just focusing on a lot of what our community does, which is just stick a traditional kill team back and forth player versus player, but this cooperative and also just single player type, game mode. They want people to be able to play with their toys, regardless of whether or not it is in a competitive or a casual environment. And I feel like that is worth looking into just a little bit. How it works, the merits of it, how smoothly it seems like everything runs, if it's even fun or not, how much it can scale up, ideas for homebrewing stuff.
I'm really looking forward to your full detailed report on this and breakdown in the community.
And it is a report. So before I get into what I've spent the past couple of days doing, I did ask you guys when we brought up what the topic was, if you guys had anything that you wanted me to ask of you or any kind of questions. And I just said, I want you guys to try to play some of Joint or Adversary Ops, so we have an idea of what we're talking about. Who here has done what before we sit down to talk today?
I had COVID, so please excuse me.
Your excuse.
What expansion is that from, though? What, the COVID expansion?
COVID. Yeah. It was actually from the Kill Team 2018 expansion.
Oh, gotcha.
Right after Pariah Nexus.
I was thinking it was going to be the starter set at the very least, because that has the Plague Marines. I haven't looked too carefully at all the rules on that, because I did get the Space Marine heroes of the Plague Marines for Christina. They are still on Spruce and she hasn't built them yet, so haven't need to look at anything yet.
I did play a Joint Ops mission last night. Actually, I did Angels of Death versus 77 wounds worth of Necrons from the Indomitus box that I had painted up and never used for anything. So I played a Joint Ops mission last night.
Nice.
Ooh,
Connor? It was really fun, actually. It was interesting. It kind of felt like playing chess with myself, because I didn't have to wait for the opponent. I could just, I made my move with one guy, and then I just reached out and grabbed the other guy. I didn't have to wait for somebody. I didn't have to stand around and wait for them to measure 47 different things. I just basically picked who was next to go. I played Angels of Death. I took the captain. I took the heavy bolter. I took two normal chainsword guys, or a normal chainsword guy, a normal gunner, or a normal bolter guy, intercessor gunner, and a grenadier. I won. I played mission 4 on from the Joint Ops, from the starter book. So it was escape, or excuse me, I played escape. So mission 3, I played on Vulcus map 4.
Yeah.
And I was able to get, by the time I got to end of turn 4, I was able to get 4 of my guys off the board, and I won. So it was actually really fun. I really enjoyed it. It was kind of neat. It was interesting to like roll against myself because I could just basically pick up. I had 2 different color sets of dice, and I just roll them all at the same time and see how they went. I didn't use any equipment really for my guys or like command points or strategic plays and stuff because I just wanted to see how it went. But it was actually really, really interesting. Connor, did you do your homework?
I sadly was not able to get a game in because I ended up going to a tournament on Sunday, but I was able to read both the Typhon and now the Tomb World book pretty thoroughly through on their little dossiers.
You see, this is exactly what I was talking about in Discord about how, you don't have a woman on the podcast so nothing gets done. Luckily, I did work, and I'm sharing a link with you to a Google document I made. And for those of you listening at home, when this episode gets posted, I will go ahead and share this document for you to go ahead and look over it in the Vox Cascadia channel in the Kill Team Cascadia Discord. If you're not in there, that's where all the fun stuff happens. And, the Northwest for buying things, selling things, playing things, discussing strategy, clowning on Connor, so on and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
Why aren't you in there yet?
It's just a really good Discord in general. Like
It
good vibes,
is.
So
Max, real quick, I have to object to this Google Doc because it is way too professional and clean looking, and we're just kind of.
You think I can read?
It's really nice and looks really good, and
it's okay. I put a couple of pictures in here if you can't keep up with all the words in it.
Oh,
no, actually, it's very impressive.
God,
just scrolling through it, it's 15 pages. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and explain what happened here. So there was light conversations about me coming on the podcast
this is
Wednesday
amazing.
Last week. So because I am currently on leave of absence from my job because I hate it and I'm trying to find another job. I got
work for you.
We'll talk about that a little bit later. I spent the last from Friday to Monday. I spent the last 4 days doing nothing but waking up in the morning, making myself some coffee and breakfast, and in the living room just playing a joint ops mission. And I have kind of chronicled scratch notes and an idea of how that went with each one of these. I started kind of from in release order from when Games Workshop has been putting these out, from the very start of the edition to what they have in just the core rulebook, one of the missions that you played, Chuck, going through stuff they released on Warhammer Community, to Typhon, to Tomb World. So ramping up in complexity as Games Workshop kind of figures out what they're doing and what their goals are with this, and they add more and more mechanics and refine things. Now, because so much of this is, especially with Typhon and Tomb World, the logical thing to do if doing kind of missions like this where I want to go keep it very tight and focused and kind of get an idea of mechanics is, you'd think with all the aliens I'd probably be playing something like, I don't know, the Death Watch team I just got, to keep it really nice and simple, have a couple of specific guys to kind of get attacks, you learn how they work. So what I did instead is I went and ran my 14-person vet guard team through each one of these because I wanted to for 2 reasons. One, because others funny, and 2, because I wanted to see how unwieldy this got if I was running a horde team and also having to manage all of the NPOs as well. Spoiler alert, not that bad most of the time, but we'll get to when it got to be a little bit much. So as I was going through and I was putting my poor Imperial Guard through basically weekend at Kronos, the planet from Dawn of War Dark Crusade, where everybody is killing each other, including the Space Marines also trying to kill the guard, and they're having just a very bad time. I went and just grabbed a bunch of models from my, collection in the case of the first 2 missions, and then I used, my Tyranids, my Necrons for Typhon and Tomb World, where things got a little bit spicier. And I also do have at the very back of here, Connor, you technically did do the homework for this a month ago because I made you and Grant play a
True. I'm just
a
teacher's pet and did the assignment from the rubric at the very first week of class.
Yes. Now, before we go and get into all the joint ops stuff here, do we actually want to start with Adversary Ops, explain that, or do you want to get into joint ops? Because Adversary is kind of like a hybrid of regular Kill Team and that.
I think joint ops might be better because, well, actually, no. I think Adversary Ops might be, I think Adversary Ops might be better, because Adversary Ops, as I've read it so far, it's basically like you're playing Kill Team, you're playing PvP
Yes.
against an opponent, and there's nerds on the table that are trying to kill both of you.
Basically. So yeah, how it works is it is just a regular game of Kill Team for the most part, where you kind of with, whatever the critical ops pack or mission pack is, you guys pick the mission, you pick like a map layout and everything. You pick your you pick your equipment, your crit ops, your tac op, whatever have you, and just set up and do all the regular mission stuff as normal, like everybody is used to. With the added wrinkle that there's also just basically NPC hostiles also on the board. They do not belong to anybody. They answer to no one. If the say the Tyranids from like Typhon, for example, and what I put Connor and Grant through, if they kill one of like, I don't know, Connor's operators, Grant wouldn't get any kill out points on that. You don't get kill out points for killing the NPOs. They are just kind of there in an extra problem and level of texture kind of on the game. So how Adversary Ops works is, and both the Typhon and the Tomb World box have just like kind of general kind of like map layout stuff. The Typhon box does have the book has a bunch of map layouts for suggestions for using the Vulcus terrain and then throwing the Typhon, like the Tyranid terrain, on top of that in places. Kind of map setups for just not even joint ops, just basically just playing games back and forth like normal with just all the extra crap in it. And the rules, how it works is, as you're just rolling initiative as normal, you have like, player 1 goes first, player 2 goes second, and then the NPOs slide in as like a player 3 spot, as if you guys are playing multiplayer, and they always kind of go third in that like ordered back and forth of who's taking turns, and they don't get an Adversary Ops, at least the NPOs don't get equipment. They only have a couple of guys on the board. The game starts, at least this game we did, back at like Comics Heat back in August, started with each one of the players just taking like a Tyranid NPO and put it at like the opposing, like the control point on the other person's territory on their side of the board, and then I believe they rolled off to decide who placed like the third one. And then as they're just going, if any of them are like ready, quote unquote, just, players would roll off and decide which Tyranid NPO that had like a valid order where they could do something to activate, next. And they do follow all their kind of like programming, how like NPOs work. We'll get into that in a minute. And from Turning Point 2 onwards, they do kind of get ploys in the strategy phase. For both the Typhon and the Tomb World box, you do have these nice handy dandy little like event cards for like the kill zone and everything. And as part of Adversary Ops and Joint Ops, the Tyranids and the Necrons, respectively, they do just pull like event cards, and they act basically as strategy ploys. How many they get to pull depends on, like with the circumstances of the mission and like what's happening. But to do anything from just spawning more guys to just, doing things there that make it so a random operative on like, one of the teams just has like -1 APL. It can make it so that the if you fail a roll of, I think it's like a 4-up roll, if you're too close to any of the Tyranid terrain for an entire turning point, it will just damage you for 1 wound, Connor.
These kind of sound like the twist cards from Warcry.
I'm not too familiar with Warcry, but
let me send you a document that has.
It reminds me of the old stuff they'd published in White Dwarfs in the previous edition, like the much demanded jungle rules and then the desert rules and stuff.
Yeah, I have a lot of the rules just kind of like set aside in a binder.
I'm gonna tangent us real quick.
Okay.
Did you guys see those photos I posted?
I did.
Okay, looking through those photos, that's some interesting terrain in the background. They normally don't do that, There's some interesting stuff. Look at that. That's a tree. I don't recognize that tree. Do you? Do you recognize that tree? Let's go with let's go with photo 1 first. What is that yellow stuff in the background?
Is that like textured metal? Maybe like it looks kind of like steel grating, but like
it looks like a Octarius train.
This is so good for a visual, for a
We
completely
will-
audio medium like a podcast. I hope
Connor,
we'll post
we will
these
be
later.
posting this.
Yeah,
We will be
we'll put
posting
them
this.
out. We'll
Are
put
these
them
from
out.
your French kits too?
Absolutely.
Votre escrimier.
Yeah. You know,
Squidward.
So game theory, if you will. I do remember seeing from the leaks with the Nemesis Claw or Nemesis. God damn it! Like,
Raptor
Murder
Wing.
Wing.
You
Murder
have
Wing.
me call all Night Lord's Nemesis Claw. Connor,
Murder
I
Wing.
hate this whatever. Just the Chaos Jobbers and the Sisters of Battle. Leaks did say that it seemed like they were doing weird rules where they'd come with a board where it's supposed to be half like close quarters, like into Tomb World, and half like conventional terrain.
Yeah, they
So-
showed that off in the article, which looked really, really cool.
We could be getting like above ground Necron stuff. Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah.
We could be getting above ground terrain that's supposed to be whatever, like the, Surge of the Tomb World's supposed to be. It could be a jungle, could be anything. Could
Yeah,
be nothing.
I don't know. So like if we're looking at the Demolisheur, like that yellow thing in the background, I don't know what that is. Continuing on, we're gonna go to the Maître Escumeur. I wasn't very good at French when I took it. But like that tree, I don't recognize that tree. Do you guys? That's not the old Death World trees there. So that I don't think that's AOS trees.
I wonder if it's like ancient GW terrain that they're just reusing, since they
Uh,
like for a lot of these photos. Sometimes they'll use like terrain that they have on the box art and stuff, that you'll see, but like they haven't released a kit for in like years.
They usually I feel like use new terrain on this stuff, or like pretty recent terrain, So then continuing on the Hordicide, I just wanted to include that because that's a cool photo. Like they photoshopped the flames in. You can't see shit in the background. And Hordicide is like way cooler than Horde Killer.
Horde Slayer.
Yeah. And then
Hordicide sounds like something that the Inquisition
It's a death metal
would
band.
drop from orbit to, just to take out a whole planet.
Absolutely. The Bombardier, I don't recognize that terrain, but that could just be like cut up shit there, Again, good photo. Okay, but we're gonna go on to the Geomancer there. What's that bar that's going across the Tomb World? We don't have that. That's clearly modeled terrain with the little hanging wires. It's kind of like ITD-ish, but we don't have that yet.
It does look Necron adjacent. I feel like that could easily be like from past seasons with Volcus. I know that I don't own any of the Volcus stuff at all, but I do know with the Brutal Cunning box, didn't that have a bunch of like other terrain, like breachable walls for how they do strongholds and stuff like that? I could easily see
Volcus stuff though too.
I could easily see this being like expansion stuff for like Tomb World terrain
That'd be cool.
at some point of some sort, because I know they also for the End of the Dark season they did a lot of just kind of expansion, like kind of narrative terrain stuff, like the neat little like tack table and like the I think the emergency drop pods and the turret that would just shoot people and all sorts of neat stuff that I don't have that I wish I did. Because I'm a weird narrative rules pervert and I like to collect stuff like that. Like all of those rules you're talking about from White Dwarf, Connor, I have those just laying around in a binder that I salvaged out of White Dwarf stuff. I am a D&D DM type person first. Like I have long said when we're at like tournaments and conventions, I am a narrative player who has had to become a competitive player against their will because there's been no narrative anything.
I think that's valid. I'm a hobbyist who has ended up running a tournament-focused organization.
Dude, you're a sweat lord.
And there
You're
was
crunchy boy.
yeah, and there was a time where in last edition,
that's just my natural skill. Like I ain't trying.
Like there was a time in last edition where despite all that stuff about like narrative over competitive stuff I just rattled off, where I was like the fifth highest ranked Void Dancers player in the country. So stuff just happens.
Absolutely. That's life, right? As old Frankie said.
Okay.
So but where were we before Tyler's Zapruder film of terrain derailed us?
Yeah, just Tyler, I love you dearly as a friend, but I cannot just Especially the bit like, look at this tree. I don't recognize this tree. Where did this tree come from? Silk Song tomorrow. That is what half of that conversation was. I hope there's some cool stuff coming down the pipeline. Like whatever that thing behind the geomancer you point out, I hope that means nice, like upgrade stuff for Doom World, for example. It would be incredibly nice.
Yeah, that's what we deserve, right?
Why did the leakers go and focus on the new Nightbringer and not the tree? Like, what are they hiding?
For real, like show us the trees. Like jungle season, like it's been long overdue. Like I'm calling this confirmation of jungle season, but it's really just an expansion to Tomb World.
Please let a so-called jungle expansion just be another thing of cards and White Dwarf.
I'm going to say something that'll piss off a whole lot of people. Of those trees are real. That is part of the Kill Team expansion coming out. And we are not getting a refresh of like Catachan jungle fighters at all. We are still going to be stuck with those sculpts that are young, that are older than my sister-in-law. That is because they're replacing the Vet Guard and like the Krieg team that's about to get cycled out with a Tanith Ghosts team. We are getting those in plastic. That's right, everybody. That's White Tree.
I mean, like, don't we already have the Tanith Ghosts?
We have the characters, which are apparently on a different scale and bigger than all the regular, like, guardsman miniatures, which really kind of put the kibosh on me trying to make my Vet Guard team with the Cadians as procs into Tanith, because I can't have nice things.
Well, at least you're not trying to run them as legionaries.
I mean, I thought it was like intercession.
That's an old school cut, Tyler.
That's a deep cut.
That's one of the best weird ass Reddit threads we've ever seen on the Kill Team subreddit.
For real.
This guy has a knife. It's a Shrive Talon.
It could be worse when we get into the after show you do for patrons. I'll tell you the Crute story also off of Reddit. In the meantime, though, Joint Ops. You guys hear about Joint Ops?
I've never heard of it.
I've heard of a joint.
Yeah, but
Connor, have you heard of a joint?
I smoked once, one time.
I don't believe that. It would have. I met you. You would have exploded.
No, he did. He definitely did.
Okay.
I was there. Yeah.
Were you?
Oh, 2 times then. Tyler was there for the second time.
Yeah.
So, Joint Ops,
you were
she said loudly, trying to get things back on track.
On track? Have you?
Right.
How many?
You listen to what we do.
To?
Yeah, I do, and that's why I'm shocked you guys wanted me on the show.
I mean, we need a little structure sometimes.
Yeah, like strong, domineering woman just taking the reins, making so the show's actually about Kill Team. Okay, so as I said, I did 4 Joint Ops missions in the span of 4. I don't know why I got all Mr. Beast with it for a second there explaining it. I did 4 Joint Ops missions in 4 days, and as I said, I was going in kind of ascending from release order from the most recent, like, first crack stuff Games Workshop did at it, going to the most recent things of Tomb World. And they do get a lot more complicated as they go along here, because they're clearly reaching their stride and they're figuring out what they're doing. Kind of like with second edition, with just basic mechanics when they got rid of all, like, the elite crap and everything from, like, the first Kill Team, and it was a bit of a mess. They realized with this edition, maybe we don't need all this activation, like group activation stuff. We gave 4 teams. It seemed like only 2 teams usually get rid of all that shit, all that. You can kind of see the progression as we're going through Joint Ops stuff here, as you're going through kind of release to release to release, and they get a bit more confident. They get a bit more weird fit with some of the stuff they're doing, and a bit more like kind of bold with some of their mechanics. And Chuck, you played one of the same missions that I did here for the first one, because the core rulebook does have this 3 very basic Joint Ops things. It's got 3 missions, one of which is just straight up it's basically team deathmatch, kill the other side or they kill you first. The other one is kind of more traditional kill team objective thing, where there's 3 like objectives and you have to sabotage them, although it does instantly win if you sabotage all the points and the NPO is trying to protect it. And then the escape one that Chuck did. So how we start off with Joint Ops stuff coming out of the core rule book is it does have just a little table of 3 kind of like tiers and strata of this basic NPOs. It's got, I don't have the book in front of me right now, but it's got basically like a brawler and a marksman. It's got the melee operative and the ranged operative. Then it's got kind of like a light, a medium, and a heavy version of each one of those. The light one has like shitty kind of like gun rolls. It's got a 5-up save. It's basically like a guardsman. You get into your more like mid-tier operatives on like the medium one, with a 4-up save. Their weapons are better and everything. And then the elite, like the heavy ones, are basically if you're trying to proxy somebody like a Space Marine. And there's a very helpful 2-page spread of here's just some new miniatures in your collection you can kind of just use to represent each one. And the idea is anything that you have laying around, just use them as NPOs. Here's a couple of fun little things. And the core rulebook does establish a lot of stuff about how joint ops work. Some things it kind of abandons later on as we get into other missions. Like the stuff in the core rulebook, you're actually supposed to be taking equipment for the NPOs based off of what I read. None of anything else I played does that. It specifies no equipment for any of them, in all the mission briefs, everything else I did. Just the basic ones in the book, because there's barely anything to them. They just let them have equipment. No ploys, though. Like, we're just going to skip over, for the most part, the really kind of like basic thing here in the book, because, like, well, Chuck, you did one and you kind of went over it a little bit. It's very simple, where it plays mission order wise the same way a regular kill team does, except it is between you and these non-player operatives. And each one of them, they do have kind of a set like thing, an if-then sort of priority list of basically programming and actions they're supposed to go through, as well as threat priority about who they're supposed to target and what they're supposed to be doing. And this does make it that even though this is all like on a tabletop, you're moving physical miniatures, it's all dice, they technically have AI programming, so to speak. So if you have played something like Final Fantasy Tactics, XCOM, any other turn-based game, strategy game like that, with different enemy types, when you learn their behaviors, you can kind of game the system, and you can, predict what they're going to do, and you can lure them into traps and stuff like that. Like, on this first mission I did, which was the salvage one out of the core rulebook, like, I got 2 of these, like, NPOs. I used, like, some old towel I had. I got 2 of these, like, Fire Warrior, like, NPOs to walk into a very obvious trap with the mine that the Vanguard Sapper can put down that no player would have ever fallen for.
But
it was so blatant and obvious. Like, I kind of put it down. I don't remember if I put it down basically next to one of them or not. I don't know. But the other guy sure ran in because the Sapper was kind of out in the open in an easy target, and was at about 4 out of 7 hit points. And the most inconvenient and damaging thing that could have happened at that moment was that guy killing the Sapper, so the mine token was just gone. And the book does specify it's when choosing threats and who the NPOs are targeting, what's the most inconvenient and damaging for you. So he got in the firing position, and I blew 2 of them up, and they died instantly. Nobody would have fallen for that if it was an actual player, unless they just did not know what they were doing.
I mean, you are the movie Marine, right? Like, you are like the hero of the book in these situations. Like, it's kind of the idea generally, right?
That is the idea, and it does, like, how, just, if we need to step back for a little bit, how this is supposed to work is, again, you're fighting these non-player operators. They're basically like no-neck nobodies. The book even goes and specifies that you're bringing in an actual kill team of specialists. These guys are all basic kind of like battle line soldiers from like a proper 40k army. There's nothing special about them beyond the fact that they have guns, armor, whatever saves they do. So, like, you do, in theory, outclass them. The idea is that there are just more of them. And in all the missions I played, there's some mechanics for the NPOs respawning, so there continues to be more of them. You can just be stacking bodies like 10 feet high for some of these missions, depending on how quickly they're coming back in.
That was part of mine. They came back a couple times too, and there was a couple different mechanics to bring them back. You could either bring back 2 of like the normal nerds or one of the big nerds. So
yeah, it's really kind of straightforward, where how it works with the basic stuff out of the book, and also the next thing I'm going to talk about, which is the mission pack they released on Warhammer Community, is with this early stuff, how they're having you set up the NPO force. It is any combination of models and like any of the unit profiles that you want, but it's kind of a wound allotment is how the NPO side is working. And it does say, like, if you want to adjust the difficulty, you can take it up and down, like more wounds, less wounds on the other side. But for the most part, they kind of have a wounds budget, kind of like how in 40K they work off of points. You can be able to do like points by. The later stuff like Typhon and Tomb World move away from this. Both of those, it is a hard limit of 10 NPOs on the field. That is it. None of this wound nonsense. Get that out of here. But with some of the early stuff, it is, you're kind of, the NPOs for the most part, or it's like they're buying people based off the wounds they have.
Does it scale up with difficulty as we go on?
The difficulty scaling is how the book seems to treat difficulty scaling is based off of, it doesn't give parameters for how to do that. It just suggests you add more, like, wounds worth of guys. It says you go throw more people on the field as you see fit. It doesn't seem to have any kind of actual guidelines for that.
All right.
So it's vibes based, let's say. You feel like maybe 90 wounds worth of guys isn't enough because, like, I know you're too, like, badass. Make it 100. Make it 110 wounds of guys. Fuck it. Why not? 120, nice and even. But, so, the ones in the rulebook are really bare bones, but Games Workshop did release, like, a few other, like, mission pack type things. One of which to put out on Warhammer Community, and it is also in the Kill Team app. That is called the Deadly Sniper Mission Pack. They apparently did also a couple other mission things they did release in White Dwarf issues. They released something called like Shrine World in issue 508 and in 511. I actually saw this at a store, I think in the past day or so, because I found like the issue and I looked at it and the rules were really fucking weird for the procession to the firing squirrel thing. Those are not on the website or in the Kill Team app at all. You can't find those to official Games Workshop sources unless you actually have like a copy of White Dwarf. And I don't understand why they've done it that way when all the rules for the NPO stuff for like Typhon are on the website, and like rules for like how the terrain stuff for Tomb World is already on the website. Like, why?
Yeah, that's really strange.
I don't get it. But so the Deadly Sniper thing is the second one of these missions I did. And I'm bringing this up because this is where Games Workshop has started to start getting like a little bit froggy with it. And they started making custom NPO profiles. They made one for this, which is the Deadly Sniper, as you could probably guess from what the pack is called. It's a 3-mission thing where it kind of is in a narrative line. And for the first 2 of these, you can't actually target and fight the sniper guy at all. He's just up on the tallest, like, thing in, like, the Volcus stronghold wants you to build. I don't own Volcus, so I had to improvise. So he's on my board. You remember, like, the kind of cathedral-looking terrain the Chalmouth box had in 2nd edition with the novitiates? Oh, yeah. And so he's on top of that on mine. And the rules specify that you don't measure line of sight from where you put the model. It's basically anywhere on, like, the highest vantage point he's on. So that entire kind of like wall area, just line of sight's anywhere from there as if he's running around. And he has this mechanic where at the start of a returning point and after he does every like activation and shoot, you roll a d6. And whatever the number is, that's how many activations it takes before he is reloaded and he can shoot at somebody again. And when you're playing, 7 wound saves on a 5-up guardsman like I was, his shots hurt.
So
lot.
I've got the NPO data card. I found it. Got it pulled up. So because he's 4 attacks on 2s, 3/3, devastating 3, heavy, silent. So he's probably deleting most 7 wound models.
So I'm gonna scroll to the bottom of my notes here. Looking at stuff. I lost a total of I forget exactly how many like guardsmen I actually lost in this mission, but I do know that the sniper killed 3 people. The sniper alone killed 3 of my guard. And I did the first mission out of this pack, which was the Sniper's Alley, which already off to a great start. Like really paints a picture that only good things are going to happen in a place called Sniper's Alley, where there is an objective on the enemy side of the board. And the idea is it's supposed to be like some kind of wounded, like operative or somebody important, and my guy's supposed to go extract them and kind of bring them back. And all the trains set up in such a way where you have, if you're playing smart, you kind of have cover you can move between so the sniper can't immediately kill you. and all of the enemy NPOs set up inside of like the stronghold on the right side of the board on their side. And I thought it would be fun to go and make it just guard versus guard. So I used my blooded team I have laying around. And that is about when I realized maybe if you have effectively 2 horde teams you're managing, maybe you have too many activations, because this match took forever. And it was also incredibly stressful because you're trying to move people up in a way where this guy does immediately just blow their brains out. Like, for reference, again, I'm basically rolling dice against myself, and I'm stressing myself out.
Yeah,
so good mission design.
When I played my mission, when I played my Joint Ops one, I was like, I'm going to pick the simplest team I possibly can to play as and then against. Because I was like, I even thought about grabbing Rekkas. I didn't grab Rekkas. I was like, Angels of Death. Super basic, super tough. And then I just grabbed some Necrons against them. So I imagine that playing like Horde against Horde with a bunch of Imperial Guard, like human bodies, is going to make it a little tougher, especially when you get that sniper up there.
Well, it's, again, I wanted to kind of test the system here to its limits, because I figured if any of you guys actually did get around to playing stuff this week, more likely than not, between you with your recos and then the amount of Death Watch, bodies floating around from the Tomb World box, and Connor's weird pathological need to take any like powered armored like team that's working on a 3-up and turn them into Iron Warriors for some insane reason, you guys probably would have gone through stuff as elites. So I figured for contrast, not do that.
It's not my fault. They're very fun to kit bash.
That's okay. That's fine. No,
painting stripes are good too.
Well, painting stripes are good. I find the concept of an Iron Warrior personally offensive, but that's just me. So,
can we expand on that?
Yeah, wait, time out. What? I know we're trying to stay focused, but I need.
Let me flash back to earlier on in this podcast 5 years ago when I was talking about my history of 40K and as middle school Max trying to play people at the local game shop, and one of the regulars there was this guy. If you've ever played Command and Conquer, like the ones with like Tiberian, with like the Brotherhood of Nod, if you know who Kane looks like, imagine that. He looked like that guy. Unironically, he looked like fucking Kane from Command and Conquer, and he was an Iron Warriors player. And he would, every roll, no matter what it was, he'd take his handful of dice, just shake them really loudly. He just kind of muttered to himself, iron within, iron without, iron within, iron without. And he'd just drop them on the table. And if he really liked his roll, he'd just shout iron really super loud. And Iron Warriors suck now because of that. The well got poisoned so early for me. I am so sorry, Connor.
Connor,
right. I'm not even.
You have to do this now.
Oh, Iron Within, Chuck. It's all right. I barely have any attachment to the Iron Warriors beyond just being a simple enough paint scheme with a little bit of fun of the stripes, and it's easy to convert to, or not easy to convert, but fun to convert.
Like, this was happening when I was 13 or 14 years old. I turned 36 years old this December. So I still remember this motherfucker. If you're listening, guy, whoever you are, I'm sorry. I'm not, but I'm sorry. What were you talking about again? Joint Ops, right. Let's see. So blah, stuff they released on the Warhammer community. That was really good. I honestly think they should be doing more of that because that was like a really fun and unique kind of like set of like missions. I only played one of them. I did do the thing. Too many of my guys died. Speaking of too many of them dying, let's talk Typhon. So who owns the Typhon box?
Your boy.
I do.
Awesome. So the Typhon stuff is when they start to get kind of really, I think they've hit their stride with the Joint Ops stuff here, because they don't do things based off like wound allotments anymore. There's a hard limit of 10 NPOs in the field, and rules as written in the book, it assumes that when it says an NPO, it's going to be one of the Hormigons that came with the box. But there is this nice handy dandy little table in there where it has both everything that came in the box for Typhon, which is some Rippers, Hormigons, and then the Raveners, obviously. And then it also has stuff from that combat patrol we were talking about. So the Von Ryan's Leapers, the Termagants, the Burbgons, and you just roll 2d6 when an NPO is spawning in, if you want. It's an optional thing. It specifies. And you can just decide what kind of Tyranid is going to be on the field. So the mission I did from this is I just rolled a die because the Typhon stuff is actually set up in a campaign structure where it does have like a starting mission, and then it has like a little tree of if you win, you go to this one. If you lose, you go to this one, so on and so forth. You can also just do them whenever, but there is an actual narrative campaign structure and arc to the Typhon stuff, which I think is neat. I just rolled a die because I don't have time for all that, and I ended up with something called Swarm Response, which is kind of what you did, Chuck, with the trying to run to the other side of the board and extract, except terrible, because it has all the Typhon terrain and all of everything else. So if you're looking at the picture, if you're following along at home and you're looking at this document, you're probably looking at this horrible board I have here with all the Tyranid terrain and everything, and the horrible, like, blocked off alleyways, and you're probably wondering, what are those objective markers, Max, on the top and bottom of the board with all the numbers? Well, I'm glad you asked, person who I don't know is actually asking questions like that. So how this mission worked is, at the start, there were no NPOs in the zone, and every turning point, I would roll, like, a D6 4 times, and I would just in order and kind of set aside like those dice, whatever the result is, and that would decide which one of those points, 1 through 6, like the NPO would spawn on. So I was doing that and the optional rules for just spawning in different Tyranid bioforms, and a lot of them in the first like 2 turning points were just coming down from like the bottom side of the board. So the top side was pretty clear. A lot of my guys there were on easy street. Yes, Chuck. I saw like your hand going up in the little app thing, and I'm not hearing you say
Chuck's
anything,
just
so
lying to you, or he forgot to unmute himself.
I'm just gonna keep going then. So how the idea of this mission is supposed to work is you start on like the far end on like the right side of the board, the left side of the board, and the NPO's like board edge, the right side. That is where you guys are supposed to get to. If they go over the board, they extract, and if you have to get at least half of your operatives to extract to win the mission. Any less, and you lose. So we start doing this mad dash, and I decide, like, I give, because Tyranids, with the melee focus, I went in going, okay, we're just going to give them a chronometer so they can just have a free dash, get like a head start, give them hand axes so they suck a little bit less in close combat, so on and so forth. Just trying to kind of run forward, and it turns into a shit show almost immediately. Like, turning point 2 is when it gets real bad. I think turning point 2 or turning point 1, because there is, this is where we're going to talk about the event cards and the fact that they get ploys and they do fun and annoying things based off of the terrain features and also just kind of to you and ambiently. And one of the really fun pieces of terrain that came in the Typhon box is this birthing sack thing that can just spawn Tyranids if you draw the event card for that, like I did. And if you roll on the table, like I did, you can just spawn like a Von Ryan's Leaper out of nowhere that can just run in and start killing your people, like what happened to me. I actually had a situation where not only did that... Okay, so I was kind of approaching this stronghold, and like a Hormigaunt came out, like attacked one of my guys. Like my Bruiser came in to like fight the Hormigaunt in close combat to kind of like save him, and then the Leaper came in and killed like the Bruiser. And then when we were dealing with the first Leaper, like it turned over to turning point 2 and had to do more spawns. And I got another one of them. A second Leaper has struck the stronghold, and it just turned into this a complete mess down there. And as just dashing people across the board around turning point 3s when the dice decided, do you know what would be really funny? What if we start having them come in on the top of the board where it's been really clear? And it just turned into a mess so quickly. I lost. 5 guys out of 14 got out. Everybody else died. It was a mess.
I'm looking at the board, and actually, sorry, I hit the wrong button and my hand raised, and then I was muted, and I didn't think I was muted. So, I'm looking at the board, and so looks like there's 6 spots where they can spawn in, and then they can also spawn from the terrain too.
It depends. So one of the event cards, there's like for both the like zone specific event card things, they do different stuff with like the terrain or like thematically with like the units and such. And one of them is this like another like Tyranid just spawns out of like that kind of gross looking like big sack thing. Like the Necrons has something similar for Tomb World, where this and a warrior can just awaken and come out of any terrain feature that has like a warrior modeled in it. So like the walls or like the end caps. So basically same principle.
Okay.
I think there's only 2 walls with the warriors on them.
There's two of
two
the
walls
long
for the warriors,
walls,
but then there's the
and
end
then
caps,
there's
like
the
Nick was saying.
the 2 little end cap things.
Still a lot of warriors, you know.
Yeah, and the Tomb World like stuff does specify with the map layouts where it wants those walls facing. We might also get into the Tomb World stuff now as well, because that's the last one of those I did. Like I did do a couple days ago, I went and built my Tomb World stuff into a map. I had a friend pick like one of the map layouts. Half of the ones in the unlike with Typhon. Actually, Typhon doesn't have any specific like I think it has join off specific ones, but it didn't have stuff I think listed out for. I have to go grab the book because I've already forgotten. I think Typhon has with its missions, it does have like map layouts at once. Tomb World does not. Tomb World just has mission briefs and it has all the different like layouts it has in the book, with half of them being listed as being only for joint ops based off the shape of it, because it'd be too unbalanced for an actual like PvP game. This is also kind of when I realized how much of my Tomb World walls were crooked and how that actually kind of affects sense of for gameplay, which is annoying. So thanks for that.
The season.
Yeah, it's great. Like we'll get into that another time, but
yeah, I'm looking at the pictures. I do love the green mood lighting, by the way, but you can see that the walls themselves are kind of like where they would normally be straight. They're just kind of wonky.
Yeah, they're a little bit wibbly wobbly. I guess there's a little bit too much like moisture and water damage in the Tomb World, over the millennia, so everything kind of like warped. I also did turn on green mood lighting and Mechanica soundtrack for ambiance while I did this one, because why not? Finish that out on a strong note.
I've been listening to the Mechanica soundtrack as I've been painting my Tomb World.
Yeah. So the same thing with they kind of picked up the ball here with what they did with Typhon with Tomb World as like the start of a season kind of like release, where it's still like none of this Bloom stuff, a hard limit of 10 like kind of NPOs. The data cards and stat blocks I have are just the stuff that comes out of the Tomb World box, because it uses the models from the new Canoptic Circle, like the Kill Team, everything but the Geomancer, and then it uses the Scarabs and like the warriors that came with like the Spruce. Like those spruces are like a dime a dozen. They came from the Indominus box in 9th edition. Very, very easy to pack that one in. And the mission I did here was just trying to go and blow up the sarcophagus that they have there, where you have to go and perform this like the breach action you can do on the walls in close quarters to kind of blow it up. And again, this was really fun here, because so how the Tomb World stuff is different is, if you've been reading through the book and you saw like the big chart of, I think, like threat levels, and your brain started to hurt wondering what the heck this is, it's because all the joint ops stuff is set up where it starts out more or less like a stealth mission, where you get a bunch of free activations just kind of doing stuff before you tip off the Necrons that you're even there. When you're opening hatchways, you have to roll a die, and on like a 4 up, that triggers whether or not they are aware of it, and it immediately goes to like, threat level like 1 or not. If the threat level rises at a 0, all of the operators stop being like expended, and they immediately can start doing stuff. So actually it rewards a lot of clever thinking, kind of setting up here, just kind of moving in nice and like stealthily positioning to kind of get stuff ready before everything goes loud, which was a really nice and interesting kind of change of pace here I haven't dealt with in Kill Team.
Real quick, I want to actually question about you said that if you roll if they get to 0, everything just goes to not expended.
Okay, it starts at 0. So Tomb World has this unique thing where it has like a threat level, and it makes it so the higher the threat level, the worse things are when it comes to like what the event cards do, and also like enemy arena reinforcements, I've noticed. So, like, for example, because the threat level on this game, it went to like 3 turning points, and I was maxed out at like grade 3 at like threat level 15 from this getting into like firefights and such by like midway through turning point 2. That influenced how many like NPOs would be coming in as reinforcements. So even though I cleared the board kind of, so there's no like 3 like Necrons running around by the time turning point 3 started, they immediately like spawned enough to hit the NPO limit at 10 when turning point 3 started because of how much of a problem I was being. And how they spawn in Tomb World is they spawn randomly at one of the hatches. You kind of number each one of like the actual doorways, 1 through 6, and you roll a d6, and whichever one they spawn at, they spawn in control range of that. And unlike the Typhon box, the book wants you to be rolling on that table to decide what kind of Necron's going on there. You should have all of them because you bought the Tomb World box like a good little consumer. So you're going to use them, and they're going to pack your shit in, and it's going to be a problem.
Well, yeah, like a good consumer, we all did buy the box. So how did the event go for you then?
It went pretty well. So as I brought up kind of early on, because all of the NPOs, no matter like what kind of mission stuff you're playing, where it is, like they have very simple if-then kind of priorities for what it is you're supposed to be doing. Like most of these guys here, like especially if they have like a gun and they're like kind of a marksman type, their first priority is going to be reposition into cover someplace safe. It's going to be to shoot. It'll be the fall back if they're in danger, like dashing if necessary, so on and so forth. So they have very easy kind of, parameters to how they're moving and what they're supposed to be doing. So my game plan that kind of worked for a little bit as I was moving people around here in like the Tomb World is like it had a bunch of kind of like different like compartments, and at the very bottom there's just at the very bottom of the map is set up so there's like a hatchway going into a room if I had an exit, but I could breach like a wall and that'd take me to the sarcophagus room. So I had a bunch of guys like of my guardsmen stacking up kind of down there. I had my like sniper behind a light barricade outside of this door with the intention to be able to shoot kind of through rooms if necessary. And I just threw a couple of guys in there, like about 4 of them to kind of run through with the intention of having like my gunner with the grenade launcher breaching the wall, because anybody who has like weapons with like any kind of like blast or like certain like properties, or if they just have things like grenadier or mine just written anywhere on their data card, they can breach walls for only 1 AP versus 2 like everybody else. The game plan was to kind of stack them up there and do like a Republic Commando style kind of like door breach and go in and kind of like attack the sarcophagus, while up at the very top where the teleport pads were, send in some people to kind of be a problem and a distraction. And people up there, like my guy at the plasma gun died immediately. I had to go and use my sappers kind of mine nowhere close to where I intended to on the map to try to clear stuff out and make it so I did not get completely overrun with Necrons kind of coming out and hitting my backline. But there was a lot of firefighting kind of like the middle. I kind of was able to push through like the bottom like I wanted. The spawns like in between turning points where they reinforce at just any random hatch kind of caused some problems, because I just had one of those new like canoptic drones spawn right behind that team I was talking about with the grenade launcher who's trying to breach the wall. So that was fun to deal with just out of nowhere. It went shockingly well, and very few of my people died, because the nice thing about Tomb World, because it's a close quarters map, is there's a lot of choke points for you to be able to work with. You can, and also just all the breakable walls come standard with Tomb World. It's no like upgrade spruce or anything like with Gallow Dark. So you can also just make holes as necessary. And when you're making holes and doing breaches, if there just so happens to be any kind of operative on the other side, they have to do a roll, and if they fail it, they not only lose an APL, but they also lose wounds from the wall breaching with them on the other side in control range.
That's pretty cool. That's like a fun mechanic that I kind of remember being in the old Tomb World stuff, but you only really saw it in the narrative gameplay.
It is really cool. Like, I actually really enjoy just the rules and such for like Team World when I was like playing through it. I didn't play through it against another person yet. We'll get to that, but just a kind of a run through of, just if like, the NPO rules was pretty entertaining, especially because I have done close quarter stuff once before. It was when I first got my Into the Dark box, and my wife completely obliterated my hunter clade. She tabled me as we were learning how the Into the Dark rules worked.
I mean, that's just because, Hunter Clade are the best, right?
Well, Connor's also seen my wife when she's playing with her Plague Marines. She doesn't play to win. She plays to murder people and terrify them, which Christina's Plague Marine stocks are really going up this edition thanks to kill grades. Like, the game is finally contorting itself to work for her.
No, it's called Kill Team, not Points Team, but we play Kill Team.
Exactly.
So you've ran through the 4 missions, the 4 Joint Ops missions, kind of going from the old school stuff to the new school stuff, and we've kind of talked about the evolution of it. But what about the Adversary Ops?
So we talked a little bit about that earlier, and I quasi-played Adversary Ops because the sales pitch I gave Connor and Grant back in August was, I'm going to DM this, quote unquote, and I'm just going to handle the mental load of whatever the Tyranids are doing. So that way we can all kind of learn how this works. You guys can just focus on the game. And that did make a lot of interesting interactions where, like, one of the first things Grant did with his breachers, he had to run forward and just kind of like immediately shot and tried to focus and kill one of the Ormagons on the point kind of in the middle of the map. I think you guys were playing loot. I don't know. Like, ask Connor. Like, I don't work here. He does. He
I
should
think
know.
we were playing transmission or secure. It wasn't quite loot, but it was one where we definitely wanted to tap the points and keep near them.
Yeah, one of those type of things. But it made a lot of kind of interesting things happen here. So in Adversary Ops, like, the enemy NPOs, they start dormant, quote unquote, where they're in a conceal order and they always count as expended, and they don't stop being expended and go live until something is tried to kill and damage them. So I know there was about a 5-minute stretch where, because Connor put like one of these Tyranids in like a really wonky spot on like the very edge of the board, nobody could really see it. He was trying to think of the mechanics how to shoot this thing to turn it on and piss it off, and then go attack one of Grant's guys, because Grant's guys are technically closer. I don't think he ever figured it out, and that worked. There's a lot of stuff with I think Termagants like kind of going into vantage behind it, sort of like your enemy lines. Connor, I know when one of the event cards popped, it made it so that it made all the terrain do this really fun thing where if you got within control range of any of the Tyranid terrain, you had to roll a die, and I think if you failed on a 4-up, it would just immediately cause a wound without a save.
Yep. I think I killed 2 of my Marines doing that by accident.
I remember distinctly you had, I think he had a plasma gun, and after he already got hurt at least once, maybe twice from this terrain feature, and also shot in like the ass by this Termagant behind you, after spending a lot of time just kind of looking at the board, you're rotating the XCOM map in your mind, trying to figure out what to do, and you were trying to figure out who to target from Grant's side, and you move this guy up kind of in the center of the board, behind cover, to go take a shot at like somebody important Grant had, and you put him up right against one of these Tyranid things, like this fleshy thing coming out of the ground. You do this roll, you fail it, the guy already had 1 wound, so he just dies.
Yeah, that was my best moment.
I laughed so hard in this game store, I thought I was about to die. Heads turned. People were concerned.
I also feel like anything you do in this game that you you kill yourself with is the best stuff. Like, you step on your own mine. I've gotten caught by my own mines before. Those are the best moments.
It was so funny. And that is like the nice thing about, that's what I like here with, Adversary Ops, is this a nice kind of added thing where if regular kill team somehow is just like getting stale for you, you have this extra layer of rules to make it slightly more complicated and a little bit more annoying in very specific ways, where you have to think a bit more tactically, because now there's just this third side you have to deal with. And you don't get any kind of benefits from killing them. If you just start running through like the ambient Tyranids on the board, that doesn't do anything for your kill grade at all. They don't count. If they kill, if they kill the other player's guy, you don't get the points from them dying because like the third side killed them. And they don't have use for those kill grade points. They don't do anything with them. They can't score victory points or anything either.
It is a really interesting concept, actually, that you're more than just playing against someone. You're fighting through a battle zone that has other stuff on it too, and the idea that you have stuff you have to deal with or figure out how to deal with it, but it doesn't give you any advantage. It just gives you a disadvantage by not dealing with it, and even potentially a disadvantage by dealing with it because you're having to spend APL to mess with stuff, or where you can awaken it or whatever if you come within. It looks, from what I saw, it was if you come within 5 inches of and are visible of a objective marker that they are on, it'll turn them on and they'll start to do stuff. So it's a really interesting concept.
Turn me on.
Yeah, I know what gets you going, buddy.
I mean, like, I think it was really brave of Games Workshop to collaborate with Mad Dragon on the Typhon terrain.
Yes, actually, it's the smaller stuff, but there's a 2-piece set in there that I really like.
I mean, there are, a couple of I'm looking at the pictures right now. There is this kind of like triangle shaped thing that if you don't care about any of like the kind of spiky knobs on the side, like that could go places.
Just recast it in silicone.
I mean, anything's a dildo if you're brave enough. So.
Flared base, at least,
I don't know if it's flared enough, though.
That actually, the spiky things, now that I look at it, that does look like it can kind of, it literally looks like with like a bug stinger that it's gonna kind of hook on stuff trying to come out. Maybe this PSA, maybe don't do things like that with the Typhon terrain. I would strongly recommend against that. You can do a lot of things in life once, very inadvisable things.
Yeah.
Dear God.
That is not an endorsement. Do not put that on me.
No, I think Tyler's got the right idea. Silicone molds, so you can cast it, and then maybe this should be our merch line.
I still need to paint up my Typhon terrain. That's like low priority right now, but. You guys, Chuck, have you painted up yours yet?
It's sitting on my desk right now, but actually, because of the homework that I partially did, I actually dug into the Typhon dossier. Like I said, I haven't actually opened a single book since the start of this edition because the cards are amazing. But I looked at the maps, and there's actually a lot of really cool maps that they kind of take out some of the light and heavy terrain from the the Volcus maps and replace it with the Tyranid stuff. And I think it adds more light in there too, I think, because only 3 of the pieces are heavy. So that makes me want to get to it.
So if you guys have a painted set of the Typhon Tyranid terrain, or you can get it done before Killstream 4, and you're coming to Killstream 4, bring it with you.
I can sales pitch that to Christina because I'm not painting any of the Tyranid stuff I own. I get all the Tyranid stuff to her because she likes weird body horror things. And she's been doing lots of really interesting stuff with, like, Chris isn't really painting any of it conventionally. She's doing lots of stuff with, like, kind of like pigments, like, as in, like, kind of like pastels and kind of like, loose powders and such. And even has tried doing some dry brushing with some of the really, fun, like, like, gels that she has for like doing nails that cast to light and color shift in interesting ways, because like with the pastels and pigments especially, Christina comes from painting stuff like this from like the ball jointed doll hobby, which deals a lot with just like kind of brushing on layers upon layers of like pastel things. So she is doing that with all the Typhon stuff and the Tyranids. I can tell her, because we're both coming down to kill Scream. If you want to have that ready, we might be able to get up to some nonsense with it.
I would love that. I would love to see a painted set of Typhon. I unfortunately have to paint 4 to 5 sets of Tomb World.
Max. Yeah. Oh yeah, Tyler's got his French Tomb World. What's Tomb World in French?
It is
Tomb World.
Monday Necrocople.
What is it?
Monday Necrocople.
I've seen your stack of 4 boxes worth of French crayons. I'm not jealous. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
it's okay.
it's fine.
It's duty, okay? You know, like I'm not doing this for fun. It's a duty, and it's money. It's a job.
It is
Someone's
money.
paying me.
Money is nice.
I don't know
will
how
s-
much they're paying me yet. Honestly, I need to figure that out. But you know, I'll still do it for them for reasonably any
The good
amount of
news
money
is,
with how much they
good
send me.
news is you're
I
in a state
w-
with a decent minimum wage, so they probably have to pay you that, right?
I mean, like, you know, 1099 contractor, I can probably negotiate a little bit more. So I don't know. Like, am I an employee now? So
Now, I will go ahead and add really quickly as far as the adversary stuff here that in between the amount of Tyranids I have and also I somehow, thanks to having that Imperium subscription a couple years ago that I did not get the entirety of because it's canceled after a
I
bit.
did.
It was
It's so
it's
much.
well it was a finance thing. I have so many I accidentally somehow became a Necron player for 40k. I don't even play proper Warhammer 40k, and I got so many Necrons, including warriors and other stuff. So in theory, if people do like this adversary ops type stuff, if we ever want to run a real whack kind of tournament where it is a whole lot of PvE stuff, I have so many Necrons, and that is a threat.
yeah, same here. I have a full Necron army, if you guys didn't know.
I think it'd be fun, off the cuff idea. Why, a tournament where we have, I don't know, say 16 players, and we have, what's that, 68? So, and then 8 just GMs that basically do the adversary piece. So, the players are playing through their missions, and then the GMs are just running the NPOs all day long.
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
I think it'd be interesting. So, but so Max,
Well, we'll see.
Max, if somebody wanted to start in joint ops and you have 2 seasons full of stuff, where would you have them start? Would you have them start at the beginning with the stuff from Volcus, or would you have them start in the newer stuff as there's been an evolution of it?
I might have them start with something out of the core book first. It's going to be very basic, but that's a good thing because you're going to figure out really quickly if this is hitting a sweet spot for you or not if you just play one of those basic missions with a thing that's barely kind of an objective just to get used to moving stuff around. And if you're good with that, then I feel like you can move on to the real well-structured and fun things because and I've seen some discussion about this in our Discord, even with people saying they wish they had neighbors they just go over and play stuff with, or they can't always get to the game store. I think back to little in middle school without anybody play Warhammer with Max, and if had stuff like this where I could kind of play with all of my toys I painted up without having to worry about when I have another person, would have probably had a lot of fun with it. And there are rules for that now because I feel like with this edition, besides making the rules just kind of tighter and a little bit less complicated from second edition and the third one, so it goes this maybe just a little bit faster and it actually prioritizes the value of killing people and all of that. Don't take that out of context. The fact they're leaning on and kind of focus on this joint off stuff for both this kind of cooperative play with people that don't have any interest in competitive or just perhaps don't have people to play with. I like that. I like that they're actually working on that. They're getting creative with how they're doing mission structure and trying to tell stories and do narrative things because they tried full on narrative rules for Kill Team, leveling up and stuff. And
it was rough. It was so rough.
Yeah. So attempt number 1 of that did not work all that well. I think here it does. You don't get any kind of, I don't know, experience points for your operators mission to mission, but it does tell they do tell a story when played in a line. There's an escalation of stakes and everything, and there's clearly stuff going on, a through line, and definitely good for each one of these. They take about as long as a conventional game of Kill Team, unless you're like me and you just have about 30 guard bodies on the field. It takes maybe a little bit longer than that because horde versus horde stuff always does. So maybe keep that in mind if you don't have 4 hours or however the hell long that took to just kind of go through that. But I would definitely maybe give one of the things in the core book like a shot. If you're a Kill Team player, there's a good chance you have the core book and the core rules. You already have it laying around. The rules are pretty simple. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably have at least 2 kill teams. So you've got spare models to go ahead and throw around and just go and play something out. And now I will go ahead and say pros, cons, pros. Besides the fact you're at least playing stuff, if your friends are around you, you're doing something. You can even do kind of cooperative stuff because it does specify either 2 people splitting like one team or just kind of splitting 2 teams in half. And both, players kind of have like their half of like a kill team to do stuff with. Like Christina is not all that interested in doing like competitive stuff against other people. Joint ops, she has said she'd be interested in. Because she's not having to get kind of all like sweaty against another player because not everybody is into that.
No.
Like, and then the cons are, of course, like these are basically, even though all of like, their like programming is on like a little piece of paper and it's like about 4 or 5 lines, they are pre-scripted like enemies you're fighting. You can predict what their behavior is going to be. You can lure them in traps. You could trick them. You could take advantage of that. Not going to be a good replacement for playing against like another person on the other side of the table. Never will be.
I was wondering how that would work actually with just to like try out a team to get some reps in before you go to your LGS and want to figure out how it is. I think it might be good to learn their rules a little bit, but it's not going to be super competitive if you're not a person that can just like look at the rules and digest them. So, but it's exciting to see that they are still embracing this because this could have been just like a season 1 thing where they dropped it, but we've seen the rules come out in Tomb World and they continue to expand on them. So it's good. I think it's good to have
I think it's really good.
That less kind of, because I mean, when they got rid of the narrative piece, it felt like it was just like a PvP competitive thing. And had I not dug into the rules a little bit, would have not even seen that. Even though I knew they were out there, I never really even looked at them. So, Tyler, now
in summary,
you got to get your game in still.
I do. I'll get it in at some point post CRITCon. Okay, maybe like at CRITCon or like the weekend of. Max, you can take me through a game. Okay.
Possibly.
Yeah,
so
it's unlikely. Just running CRITCon.
Well, I was gonna say besides the fact that on Friday I've decided I was gonna go and compete in the doubles tournament, just for shits and giggles and everything. Saturday and Sunday, I figured it's going to be help running the convention, and I don't have any actual plans. I'm not competing in the main tournament, and I don't really know what I'm going to be doing and what you're going to have use of me for. So if that's what I end up doing, maybe that's what I end up doing. We'll just have to play it by ear.
Yeah. And so in summary, Max, what do you think is like the best way to smoke a joint with your ops, based on all of your research?
Well, let's see. I've never been like a full on like kind of like actual joint person. I tend to be like a nice pen type. It's like very like light when it comes to like leaving like residue of a lot of smoke in the room, number 1. So I'm not going to be, I don't know, like using like the crit ops cards to like kind of roll things and then smoke it. So maybe it's the wrong person to ask.
Should we actually, Tyler, can we like roll up our approved ops 2024 cards and smoke something through them? Or is it just going to be like,
they've got some kind of laminate on it. Yeah, I don't know if that's a good idea.
Yeah, I don't think we want to smoke laminate, like that doesn't sound good.
As we said before, you can do it once.
That's true. So
I could probably do it a few times, but like the ramifications may come up to bite us in the ass later.
Max, you mentioned the pen. I want to talk more about that, but we'll talk about that in the after show because I don't need anybody who doesn't pay me money hearing about my thoughts on that. So, but any final thoughts on joint ops, approved ops?
Well, let's see. As I brought up earlier, the last two like big, full price mainline boxes for Kill Team they released have not only had like different like mission rules and all these kind of like things like a deck of cards just for like interactions for these game modes for like the train, but they've come with just 40K like main troop spruces and stuff, so you have other like little guys to play with. They've done that the last couple of boxes. We know 2 releases from now, they have some kind of mission things involving the Nightbringer as a boss fight in Kill Team. So I don't think they're going to slow down. I don't think you're going to abandon this as a concept. They've
I just
leaned
want to
kind of
say
heavily into it.
they stole that concept from us. We had the first boss fight in Kill Team. So
Well, of course they did, because look, they stole that from us. They have, kept coming back for Tacoma year after year because we keep making the Kill Team part of that bigger. Kill
Yep.
Team lives out here in the Northwest. We make it that way. 1,000 years of Kill Team. Why wouldn't they steal from us?
I mean, yeah. I mean, like if you're going to steal from an area, where else are you going to steal from? So, that's speaking of, come out to CRITCon, which is October 24th through 26th here in Portland, Oregon. It's hosted at the Hilton DoubleTree. We have 30 plus events. The main event that you guys are listening to this podcast that you're probably interested in is Kill Scream 4. We got 2 golden tickets. It's up to 64 players. We got some of the best players in the world coming out to play. To stream it, just to hang out. Also, we have a whole bunch of other, painting classes, our TTRPG vendors. Come check us out, CascadiaTabletop.com.
Yeah, it's going to be.
That was so smooth. I just want to, I'm taking inspiration from the Vox Scream guys. Like the way that they plug stuff, it inspired.
Yeah, and actually,
nice. You nailed it there,
clean,
man.
professional. Even.
Yeah, we usually just stumble over it and kind of do bits and pieces, and it's mostly me doing the bits and pieces. But well done, Tyler.
Yeah, I've been working on it. Like I put out an apology to the city of Portland, which I also would like to apologize here. Again, Portland, I'm sorry for bringing the National Guard to Portland. It's a wargaming convention, not a war in Portland.
Yes, and so if as long as the National Guard can like wrangle the crowds at Pine State Biscuits on the weekends, that's what we need to help us keep the city safe.
Really, we need them to wrangle the crowds outside of CritCon because we're going to be overflowing. Some of them may even play tabletop games. Some of them are local people who just they were like, fuck this, I'm going to go get some money and clean up Portland for fun.
Yeah, but by the way, if you're like an active duty National Guard person who just got stationed in Portland and you want to play Kill Team all weekend, I will pay for your ticket.
Yeah, but like you have to tell us that you hate that you're stationed in Portland because of this like fucking political bullshit.
I mean, experience from the news tells me it's either you're going to be doing that or you're going to be picking up trash off the sidewalk.
Yeah, come roll dice
Come
instead.
to our Antifa convention here in Portland, Oregon.
Oh, are we Antifa now?
We have been. Sorry, I was the local president of my area, Southern Willamette Valley, for a while up until I got laid off recently.
No.
So
Oh God, I'm gonna get put on the list.
you've been on a list. You've been
a second list.
There's another list. So, well, thank you everybody for joining us. And Max, thank you so much for coming on and talking us through some joint ops, some adversary ops. I want to try it out some more. I got my board still out from last night, and I'll probably run it through some more. So thank you so much.
And if you guys listen to this, you're on a list. We love you. Good night.